you know, pull. Ooh, where are you? Hello and welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather and we are coming up on some really interesting weather at the end of this week. We are gardening and growing all of our food in southwestern Kentucky, zone 7B, and we have this big old greenhouse. It is not heated and some of our lows are going to see -13 with the wind chill, and the wind chill absolutely affects plants and it will kind of whisk away heat from structures such as this as well. So I don't really have a lot of hope that my sad looking brassicas over here are gonna pull through regardless, so I'm not going to break my back to try to cover them further to get through the upcoming weather. But we did make some changes to our barn, some very necessary changes to our barn, and some very necessary movements of animals to help prepare for the weather, and so that's what this video is about. Over here I have the cutest little broccoli harvest. This is really similar to the harvest that I've gotten most of the time in the past. Very often our temperatures just are really variable, and that can be hard on brassicas, really all plants and animals in general, but especially brassicas. If they experience too much elevated heat beyond what they are used to, it's going to trigger them to bolt and go to seed, which is kind of what happened here, because as soon as the broccoli got ready to go to seed, it did get a little bit colder. So we did get a few little heads off of these broccolis, really not much to speak of, but I think I'm going to be able to harvest enough to make some broccoli cheddar soup, which I know, it's kind of a win. It's better than nothing. For our area here in southwestern Kentucky, normally we will go above freezing during the day pretty much all through the winter. Normally we'll have a few low temps during the winter, and these temps that are coming up, they're excessively low. We will see them occasionally. That's probably the lowest that we ever see though. And it's going to be lasting for a full 3 days, which is going to be really hard on everything, and it's going to take a decent amount of management to get everybody through it. Anybody home? Hi, Tally. When we bought this property here in 2019, it came with this barn and it came with the chicken coop and a couple different sheds. And the barn is kind of falling apart when we first got here, and it has continued to fall apart over the years. It has withstood many windstorms and even a tornado up the street from us I'm amazed that we didn't really have any damage at all. Our neighbors lost some shingles during that tornado, and thankfully nothing really happened here. But the barn, it's seen better days. It definitely needs a new roof at some point, but we can't afford that right now. We had looked into it last summer, and that was when the price of building materials was really, really high. I don't know if things like metal have come down at all. We haven't even checked, but it's something we are going to be looking into pretty soon. But for now, we had to do a little bit of patchwork because my roof is leaky. In the roof of the barn, there's actually a seam that goes all the way down here, and that seam leaked pretty much the whole length until it gets to this pitched part here. So most of the barn is covered by a flat roof, and so when the rain falls, it just kind of pools and sits there, and it will run off the edge, just not super quickly, and so it has time to pool up where that seam is, and it does leak through that seam. So it affects this wall here. This bucket is actually set up to catch rainwater, and it is frozen right now, but it's more than halfway full from the last rainstorm that we had. And so obviously that's not ideal. We would have leaks in the middle of this middle center kitting stall right here and all the way through the rabbitry. So Levi got up there the other day so that we don't get any more dampness entering the barn. Your two main concerns with livestock in the winter is dampness and wind. And so we really need to try to prevent dampness from entering the barn. With with the storm that's coming, we're getting about a day and a half worth of rain first, and then snow and blizzard-like conditions enter the area. And I just don't want that for our animals. We really needed to put a good patch on the roof, and so we get to test that coming up soon. And also, I am putting together a year in review for 2022 for the channel. And while reviewing the beginning of this year, I remembered that the wind really likes to blow in precipitation into the barn. So most of the goats will congregate in this larger area when they're trying to get out of the weather, and this area will be halfway covered in snow in a decent snowstorm. And it didn't really give the goats much option. They can come over here where the kidding stalls are at to get out of the snow, but it concentrates them in a smaller area, which really isn't good for their health. If they have more options to get out of the weather and stay warm where they don't have to be super condensed in order to avoid the weather, that's going to be best. So Levi did a thing, and it looks really awesome. So Levi was able to go to the hardware store and pick up some of that clear paneling. We already had the plywood, and he was able to cover up a good third of the barn to really help the wind not blow in there and blow the snow in there and make things wet and just make things a lot more uncomfortable for the goats. So we get to test this coming up soon, and I'm excited to see the difference that this wall makes in the comfort inside the barn. Oh, Elpis. Say hi. It's the Elpis show. You're a good girl. You show him how you walk? Come here. Come on. Can you see her throwing her hip out to the side as she walks? She walks kind of diagonal still. What a good girl. Come here. So if you haven't been following us too long, you don't know, this past summer, Elpis actually had what's called a brain worm, or a meningeal worm, that was affecting her central nervous system. And we took her to the vet, and the vet told me to give her 10 times the usual dose of a really common dewormer that we use here, and that she should be about 95% healed. And she did warn me, the vet did, that Elpis may never be a show animal, and she may always have some kind of indication that something bad had happened to her. And she does still have this weird sway in her hips and way that she walks, but she does bear weight on her back legs, and she does really well. So I was comfortable with the vet's encouragement in breeding her this season. And so we should be getting some mini La Manchas out of Elpis come springtime. And I feel good about that because, like I said, she does bear weight on those back legs, and she gets around pretty normally, even if something is a little bit off when you watch her. But back to the barn, because as an added layer against some of the worst blowing winds, Levi put in this door here. Watch out, girls. Isn't that awesome? So now we're able to close up even more of the barn. They can still get out through that hole at the bottom, but it really helps improve the draftiness of this side of the barn. Come here, Christine. Come here, baby. What did you do, Mommy? Oh, no. Come on, let's check you out. Come on, come on. This is actually kind of something important to note and to put in this video. If you feel like you maybe aren't well stocked as far as animal medicines and things go during a blizzard, you want to make sure that you have those things kind of squared away, just in case the roads are really bad and you can't get out to your farm store or to the vet. There may be some things that you have to handle for a couple days before you can get help. I am not super worried about Christine. Christine does have arthritis, but I've never seen her favor the back leg here. I don't see anything wrong that I can notice, but she probably got in a scuffle with one of the other goats and has some kind of soft tissue injury, but I'm going to scrape out her feet and trim her hooves and make sure that there's nothing wrong inside her foot pad. She did jump up onto the milk stand just fine. The foot does not feel hot, so that's good. And she was not limping like that just an hour ago when I was down here milking. Here, baby, let's check you out. Nothing inherently obvious. And she's putting a little bit more weight on it now. Yeah. You okay? You look okay. She seems fine now. Don't know what happened. Like I said, I think she probably got in a scuffle with another goat. But she is 2 months bred right now. I'm pretty sure she hasn't come in to heat since November 1st. She's going to be giving birth to some standard La Manchas. Oh my gosh, girls. You're getting too big for this crapola. You really are. So Christine, she's the only one that's going to be giving birth to standard La Manchas this year. Everybody else is going to be having minis. Like you, right? And speaking of upcoming births, this is Idolin. Idolin is due next, and she's due on January 2nd, so pretty soon. Idolin is a Nigerian dwarf, bred to another Nigerian dwarf, so she is having purebred Nigerian dwarf babies. Or baby, right? Back to what I was talking about before. This door, it's really cool. It's really nice to be able to close it and to be able to close off this southern wall. Normally, our really bad cold winds come from the north, which is that end of the barn. The whole north wall is already closed up, but sometimes we'll get some weird winds coming from the west, and that is this direction, and sometimes it ends up coming in through this wall, and hopefully that is a thing of the past. The west wall does have the pig pen on it though, and they're gonna need some more straw. So there is video evidence that previously the wind and snow would blow in from that south wall and make its way all the way to the pig pen here. And pigs, even though they love mud, they need to have a space to be kept dry, especially when it's cold. What do you think, Bo? I didn't bring the camera with me, but obviously I moved Bobo from his bachelor pad back in with the girls. Don't chew on me. Don't chew on me. Don't chew on me. And I decided to move him back here a couple weeks early because of the cold. So one of their best defenses against the cold are not only staying dry and staying out of the wind, but also gathering in numbers and making a pig pile. They will make their nest real beautifully in here, and they will stay warm and cozy all together. So it's empty right now, but the pigs have this heated water bowl here, which I use during the really cold temps to make sure that they have liquid water available at all times. I have seen the pigs though go up to a frozen water bowl and use their teeth and crack open the ice to access the water underneath. So this might not be expressly necessary, but it makes me feel good. Water, it's gonna spray. Watch out! So as far as water, liquid water for the goats, they have this trough here that does need cleaning out. I'm going to worry about that after the cold weather that we're getting. But it has this heated water element in it. It is a metal trough. We do have the element secured to the wall so that the goats, in their infinite curiosity, won't, you know, pull the heater out of the water and then set the barn on fire. That has happened to people before. So if you've got goats and you want to use those heating elements that go in the water troughs, make sure you have the protective cage around the heating element. You use a metal trough, and that you secure the line to the wall so that they can't make it budge. The alarm on my phone is going off because I have bread in the oven. So let's go get the bread out of the oven and then finish this thought. Wide load. Tempest is huge. Tidy. Hi, baby. Rory. Rory. I've said it before, but I'm gonna say it again because it totally is the truth. One of the best pieces of infrastructure that we ever did and we ever put on this farm were these freeze-free hydrants. Last year, I think it was, maybe it was the year before, we put in 3 freeze-free hydrants, extra ones on the property. This property already came with one over by the raised bed garden, but these hydrants are able to deliver liquid water to the animals when it's freezing cold out. And as long as you remember to shut them off, all of the water does sit down well below the frost line underground, and so it remains liquid. And when you open the spigot and you need the water, it comes right up the tube and you're able to water your animals, shut it off, and everything goes right back below ground. Really awesome thing to have. And as you can see, my hose, it's got a hole in it. It's gonna be a really easy fix for us. But my aunt, who lives in Maine, where obviously it's really cold, she had an awesome suggestion. And she said to buy one of those like expandable hoses that shrinks down real small and keep it in your house in like an old feed bag or in a bucket, and then haul that outside when you need to use it. And once you're done with it, you know, shrink it back up, put it back in the bag, and bring it back inside, and you never have to deal with frozen hoses. That is so smart. So tomorrow I'm picking one of those up. We're gonna head out to the boy goats in just a minute, but while we're still on the topic of water and heated waterers, I want to show you some of the solutions that we have for our quail and the rabbits that are in this rabbitry area here. So most of the rabbits here in the rabbitry have these heated bottles that are hooked up to extension cords. I have had very great success using these bottles here in very cold temperatures. Now we are inside and I can close off the rabbitry door and really help protect these animals from the wind, so thus the bottles from the chilling wind, but they have been awesome. I bought them, I think it was on KW Cages, or there's another website, and I'll put them in the description box below. But you can see here, they only really have to just peck it a little bit and water flows out, and this provides liquid water to the quail. And it's no secret that there is poo-poo all over the floor in this rabbitry and really in the barn out there. It's just been covered by hay. This is something that I'm not going to clean until about March. Usually it's a good idea not to clean the barn floor if you don't have to in the middle of winter, because that manure and hay and straw breaking down on the floor does provide a heat source as it breaks down. There's actually a bucket in one of the kidding stalls that's about halfway buried underground, and that does not freeze in the winter. That's how warm the floor is of the barn. Hello, boys. Hi, Hamish. Hello, sir. So the bucks have all moved into the bachelor pad at this point, and I do have 3 separate areas where I can keep bucks with their prospective does for breeding purposes, but we're done with breeding season now, and so in order to create more bodies in a small space to maintain as much heat as possible, I've moved all of the bucks together. And this is not the biggest pasture that I have to offer the bucks, but this is the best house. So it's not very big, but I can get in here, and so can the goats, which is the most important part. And this is very warm in here. It's very well sheltered against the elements. Having the bucks all condensed down into one area also makes a little bit less work for me, because it's only one water trough or water bowl to manage. It's only one, you know, feed station to maintain and make sure I have supplied, and this is the best house that I have to offer them. So it works out really well for everybody, and it seems like breeding season closed up at the perfect time. This is actually the first time that I've used this pan. I bought this from Pampered Chef. Oh, and it looks like it's gonna work great. Look at that. Bread pops right out. I expected a little bit of stickiness, but no. It came out just great. Look at that. sourdough sandwich loaf perfection. And I made a video about how to make this sandwich loaf almost a year ago. So if you haven't seen that, I'm gonna link that up here. And I'm also gonna link my Raising Rabbits playlist. If you've been thinking about raising rabbits and you're not quite sure where to start, that's a really good place to start.